Today on the Security Brief, 1 in 10 Americans is searching for their soulmate through online dating, but some are paying a very high price.
He had stolen my heart, and once he stole my heart, he started to steal my money.
He's all of a sudden totally serious about you after a couple days, and he's never met you in person.
How much money have you given to him at this point?
$60,000.
What do you need to know to make sure you don't get scammed?
People don't realize that you're dealing with people whose day job is to steal your money.
Tips on how to have those tough money talks with your spouse.
50% of the marriages end in divorce. So it's really important, especially for women, to keep their money safe.
It's time for my favorite segment, and that's Moron of the Week.
But we got bank robberies today.
Oh, no! I'm just an average guy. I love my wife. I love my family. I love this country. My career was built on keeping people safe. Everyone deserves a life free of fear. I'm a fixer. I'm a protector. I believe in America. I'm here for you. It's time for a new conversation. Thank you. Welcome to the Security Brief. I'm Paul Violas. So, what does $60,000 mean to you? Do you have that kind of cash laying around? And if you do, would you give it to me? No, I'm serious. Would you be willing to hand it over to me if I asked you? Hey, I'm a nice guy. But do you really know me? So why is it that so many of you are willing to give away your life savings to strangers online? Our job here at the Security Brief is to talk about the things that will help keep your family safe. And that conversation always begins with a story. 1 in 10 Americans is searching for their soulmate through online dating, but some are paying a very high price. They unknowingly enter into relationships with scammers who pretend to love them, but who are really after their bank accounts. Criminals not only research their targets, they use well-rehearsed tales of hardship, family emergencies, and business troubles abroad to seduce their prey into sending them money. And their victims do. They send lots of money, often tens of thousands of dollars, without ever meeting their love interest in person. Romance fraud has robbed Americans of more than $80 million each year, with the average victim losing $14,000. Many victims are too embarrassed to admit they've been conned. Those who do try to seek legal recourse often find that their scammers live beyond U.S. jurisdiction, where they are most likely continuing to scam other trusting victims. Joining us now is a woman who decided to try online dating 9 years after her beloved husband passed away. Please welcome Louise to the Security Brief. Louise.
Thank you.
Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
So who'd you meet online?
Who'd I meet online? This gentleman that...
And you're using that term loosely.
Yes.
Okay.
At my age, there's not that many opportunities out there to meet gentlemen. And I had been fixed up with other friends of mine who aren't always, they worked out okay for somebody else, but not for me. And so I figured, well, everybody kept saying, well, why don't you go online? And there's always so many commercials on TV that you figure that's a pretty safe thing. So. Right. You get online, and I had not had too great experience with some of them, but this gentleman, quote again,
got it.
Winked first. And
what?
He winked. They call it winking.
Yeah, hit me with that. He
Okay.
winked?
Well,
What does that mean, you winked?
Well, just like he's showing like he wants to talk to you.
Okay.
So, and I read his profile, and I said, well, that doesn't sound too bad. And then I wrote back, and I wrote to him, and I said, I hope you find the person that you're looking for. That's all I wrote back.
Okay. Where's it go from there?
We started emailing back and forth on the online dating thing on the Match.com site. And then after probably 2-3 days, he said, maybe we should go on a regular site instead of going through this Match.com site.
Are you feeling linked with this guy at this point, or do you feel compatibility? I mean, there must be some common ground here.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, his wife had died, was in a car accident, and he had one daughter that was 17 years old. He was a nice-looking man. I had a picture of him. I had sent him a picture of me.
I got to ask you a quick question on this. So his wife had died.
Yep.
Online, on your profile, had you posted that your husband had passed?
I wrote that I was a widow.
Okay. Okay. We'll get back to that. Go on, Phil. What happens now? 3 months into the you have 3 months. Nice. Then what happens 3 months into
I probably 2 months, two and a half months
Okay.
into that, and it's like emailing all the time.
Got it.
And I'm a nurse. I work all day long. I'd get home, and he was already there's messages there waiting for me. And it was like not just emailing for 15 minutes. It was like emailing back and forth till like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Have you met him in person at this point?
Never.
Never.
Never met him in person.
Okay. Why is that?
Because the story that I got from him in the beginning was that he came from Portland, Maine. He was in Orlando, Florida, bidding on a contract for a job in Malaysia. He got the job. Good, I was very happy for him. And he's flying to Malaysia. When I get to Malaysia, I'll give you a call when you get there. I'm a nurse, I'm a worry ward. I have 4 children, 16 grandkids. I worry. You know, I try not to worry, but if somebody's going on a trip, make sure you call me when you get there so I know everything's okay. So I told him, make sure you email me back when you get there and that you're safe. Well, by then he had called me on the phone, on a phone, and I'd given him my cell phone number. Never gave him my home phone number.
When does this thing start to turn where he starts becoming a little bit more demanding in the relationship?
It was when he had been in Malaysia maybe a month.
Right.
And said,
And what did he ask you for?
he asked me for money so that he could get his license from the engineering department for the state of Malaysia, because he did not realize taking this contract that he had to do this.
Okay.
And I need
How much is he-
$10,000.
$10,000? Mm-hmm. You just have $10,000 on hand?
Nope.
Where'd
I
you
had
get
it in
from?
my 401.
You took it out of your 401k for him? Mm-hmm. What happens next? You give him the 10, what happens next?
Then he started asking for a little bit more. Not right away, but waited a couple weeks. I wasn't going to take any more out of my 401.
How much was he asking for?
The next time he still asked for $10,000. And I said, I don't have it. I just don't have it, and I don't know where you want me to get it. I'm not taking any more out of my 401.
Do you give it to him?
I did. Not out of my 401.
What'd
I
you
figured
do?
I was smarter than that.
So how'd you get the 10?
I got credit cards, 2 credit cards, and got cash advance for $5,000 on each.
Okay, so to sum this up, so you take $10,000 out of your 401, you're a nurse, hardworking person. You take $10,000 out of your 401k and give it to this guy, and then shortly after that, he's hitting you up for another 10, and you don't take it out of the 401k, so you go to credit cards, you go into credit card debt for
Yep.
another $10,000.
Yep.
Why?
Why? Who the hell knows?
I
If
got to
would've
ask,
known,
Louise. I got to ask.
You know, I've asked myself that 150,000 times.
Right.
And I really don't know if I can give a legitimate answer. The only answer that I can give is that I guess he had stolen my heart. And once he stole my heart, he started to steal my money. That's the only way I can explain it. I
You know
can't
what?
explain it any other way.
And that's perfectly understandable. Tell me about the friend in Maine that comes into play.
Well, he kept still asking me for money. And then I said, I have no more money.
This well is dry.
This well is dry. I have
Got
no
it.
more money.
Okay.
And don't ask me for any more money because I don't have any. And I'm not giving you any more. That's it. So I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I said, well, I don't know how you're going to do it, but you're going to have to figure it out. I've
His
given you enough
problem.
money. And I promise you I'm going to pay you back. I promise I'm going to pay you back. But I said, no, I'm only out $20,000 now, which I
Well,
guess.
Where does the friend in Maine come in?
He told me that he had a friend in Maine that would put money into my account. He owned a business and didn't want to pass the money through his business,
Okay.
but he would pass it through my account. I gave him a different account rather than my regular account because I felt like this doesn't sound quite right, but it's not my money, so I guess I'm not going to worry about it too much.
Okay.
So put it in this account that I got from the credit union. And the sweat's running down behind my knees, down around my neck and stuff. And she comes over and she said, you have to call security. you have to call fraud security because there has been a scam on your account. And
How much money have you given to him at this point?
$60,000.
Okay.
But in my mind, 20 of it was mine, 40 of it was his buddies. But now
Up to
it's
this point?
Up to this point. But
Okay.
now it's gone through my account, and there's no money there, and the credit union is telling me, you have to pay this back.
So you're responsible.
I'm responsible.
Okay, up next, Louise gets a surprising phone call. But will it help her get justice? Stay with me. We'll be right back.
I had seen postings where people had contemplated suicide, and I thought, you know, I cannot let anybody kill themselves over crap like this. I allowed myself to show my humility, my embarrassment, my shame.
What do you need to know to make sure you don't get scammed?
Well, there are a number of warning signs that you have to look out for.
Yeah, let's go there.
We
What
call
is
them
that?
kind of the 7 red flags.
I call this one, Hi, my name is Dumb Shady.
It took less than a day for police and FBI agents to locate a bank robbery suspect.
So he robbed the bank like he's a waiter at Applebee's.
Welcome back to the Security Brief. We've been talking with Louise, who met a man online who fleeced her heart and bank account to the tune of $60,000 over the course of a few months. Now joining us is Louise's sister, Lisa. Welcome to the Security Brief, Lisa. Nice to have you.
Thank you.
I'm going to get to you in a second, but Louise, I just want to start us off by saying this, right? You are a professional. You're a nurse, you're a caregiver, you're a good person. And for you and anyone else that's ever had to experience this kind of crime being perpetrated against you, this is not your fault. And I want to state that so that we're on the same page. These guys are professional and they prey upon certain people, so you really can't hit yourself too hard on that, okay?
I'm not going to anymore. I did it for a long time.
That a girl. Well, I'm glad. I just want to start off with that. So, Lisa, your sister,
Yes.
you didn't like this. You were skeptical. Why?
I was very skeptical. At first she didn't tell me about it. She was pretty secret about it, and then all of a sudden she was like really bubbly and just full of energy. And I
Right.
said, "What the heck's going on anyway?" We're pretty close, so I can usually read her pretty well. And so she started seeing. She was telling me about this guy she'd been talking to, and she says, "Here, let me show you a picture of him." So she went to find the picture. Now this has just been a couple days that this really has been going on.
Right.
And she went to try to show me the picture. The picture was gone. And I says, something's not right here. I says, he's all of a sudden totally serious about you after a couple days and he's never met you in person. Don't you feel funny about that? And she says, you don't understand. You don't understand. I said, well, I don't know. I just didn't feel comfortable with it. And then things kept going on, and she was talking to him more and more. And I says, I said, you still haven't met him yet. Is you ever going to meet him? If he lives in Maine, why don't we take a hike up to Maine?
Let me ask you something. How did you find out that your sister was being scammed?
Well, we have a friend that is very close to us. And when something was really up with Louise, I was having a party at my house, actually. Eric actually pulled it out of her at the party that night. That took him about 5 hours, I think, to pull it out of her. And he told me. And she was madder than a hornet that he told me. But she finally got it out in the open. And at that point, she says, Lise, I don't know what I'm going to do. She says, I owe all this money. She says, and I don't even want to live. I says, you know what? This guy is not worth it. You are awesome. I says, you have a heart of gold, and you would be willing to do it to anyone that needs a helping hand. And that's not any different today than it was when this whole scam happened.
So, Louise, I got to ask you, hid this from your children, right?
I hid this from my kids till last summer. This happened 3 years ago.
How did you tell them?
I wrote a letter, one big letter, and I made 4 copies, and I wrote their names on top of each of their name, and I mailed it to them because it was eating away at me so bad that I had to come clean with them. I had promised myself I was going to take it to my grave. and said,
She showed me the letter.
Showed her the letter before I sent it. And I
Okay.
said, I'll just let the chips fall where they may.
Talking about the chips, how did they react?
The ones that live close by to me, I have 3 of my kids that live within, came to me right off within 24 hours of getting the letter, either crying or they called me and said they were on their way and they were crying. And my daughter in Michigan called and said, Ma, and all of them said this, Ma, we're not mad at you. You know, you were victimized. That's when I started finally feeling like I was a victim, because I didn't feel like a victim until that point. I felt stupid.
So let's talk about the victim side for a second, okay? Tell me what happens tax time.
That was the other fun thing, because I had to pay back the bank, the credit company. I had to go into my 401 again to get some more money to pay the bill. But my sister Lisa also had a credit card that was for $10,000, no interest for 18 months. She called up the credit card company. This is a deal we had to make at the credit union. We're making this deal with the security person there. And
This is like a damn nightmare that just doesn't end, for God's sakes.
It is, but
right?
you know what? What we're doing now is making this so nobody else has this nightmare.
And that's exactly right. And I'm going to get to that before we finish, because as I said earlier, you've got to be a huge educator for us today, and you are, and I praise you for that. But I got to ask you, you get a phone call from the Attorney General's office, right?
Yeah.
What do they tell you?
This was back in February and maybe November. I had called the FBI. That took me 2 tries because that was a humiliating thing. But then when you call the FBI, apparently it's on public record.
Tell me what happens with the Attorney General, and what did they want from you?
Yeah, they wanted me to tell my story.
Why?
Because they want to pass a law in the state of Vermont, which is the first state in the United States, that protects online people that are on these dating sites, so that they are notified if there are scammers, known scammers on the site. So they wanted me, they started investigating. And the only way they could have found out about it was they got it through the FBI, but they started calling me in November.
Okay, and what happens? Do you do it?
Yes.
Atta girl. Take it one step further. What happens? This guy get prosecuted?
Nope,
Nothing.
nothing.
Okay.
He's in Malaysia.
He's in Malaysia.
Yeah.
What happens with the IRS now?
Well, the IRS.
Money back?
I did manage to get a little bit back, because there is some kind of law.
Called Forgiveness Fraud Program.
Yes.
And
but
as a result of that, you got what back?
I think almost 10,000.
Okay. All right.
Well, which paid for the credit card anyways.
Okay.
But I had to get the money still out of my 401, but it put me in a different tax bracket.
Okay, so I
for
gotta
the next few years.
But I want to close with this. You've learned a lot here, correct?
If I haven't, then somebody better boot me, I'll tell you that.
Okay. Before we take a break, it's the one thing you learned more than anything else.
If it feels too good to be true, it is, follow your gut feeling, because that's it in everything. It's
Okay.
not only in that, it's in everything. If it sounds too good to be true, don't believe it.
It's good advice. When we come back, we'll meet another woman who was preyed upon by a scammer on an online dating site. You don't want to miss this. Stay with me. Who is prone to scammers?
Really, anybody with a big heart. Unfortunately, people don't realize that you're dealing with people whose day job is to steal your money.
Tips on how to have those tough money talks with your spouse.
50% of the marriages end in divorce. So it's really important, especially for women, to keep their money safe.
It's time for my favorite segment, and that's Moron of the Week.
We got bank robberies today. So the first one I call Hungry, Hungry Criminal.
Oh, no! He's eating the note! Welcome back to the Security Brief. Joining us now is Heidi, also a nurse and a divorcee who tried online dating and quickly became a target to a ruthless scammer who preyed on her generosity. Heidi, welcome to the Security Brief.
Thank you very
So
much
good
for
to have
having
you.
me. Thank
So tell me, who'd you meet?
you. This guy said his name was Arnold
Arnold.
Hartman, and it was on Match.com. I had kept turning down scammers or people who kept hitting me up that their wives had died with cancer, and I go, is this like a widower club? It should be. There's so many men with women who have died of cancer. Well, then he hit me up. I had put a 50-mile radius down, and he said he lived in Long Beach.
You put a 50-mile radius?
That's all who I'd wanted to be able to meet. And he turned out to then have left for London. His profile all of a sudden went off the Match site, and I found that a little bit odd. And he said, oh, he had to leave for London to put a job bidding in.
So what happens next?
Okay, so then this goes on about, he says he's in Malaysia. It goes on. During that 2 to 3 week time prior to him, he goes, oh, it's really hard over here, you know, the finances and all that stuff. And I go, well, he says he's a German civil engineer. I said, he can handle it. And so at about the 5-week mark is when he hit me up for, first of all, it was $10,000 that he needed in order to pay taxes to import his building materials into Malaysia.
But you were feeling somewhat of a connection with this guy at this point, right?
Yes, he was.
How did he earn that with you?
That his wife had died of cancer. My sister had just, it was her year anniversary death of cancer. He had no one, his elderly mother was in Germany, and my second marriage, my husband had been from Germany as well, and my great-grandparents were from Germany, so I thought there was some common interest.
Now, Heidi, I got to ask you, did any of the information we're talking about right now, had you posted any of this online? Could he have read this anywhere? Could he have researched you?
Oh, absolutely. I made a mistake and put my salary on my Match.com profile. Yeah, because I had wanted to not get stuck with the loser. Not necessarily, I just wanted somebody who could make what I made or more, just to be able to take care of yourself.
Got it. Got it. That makes sense,
Yeah, okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you give him $10,000.
Yeah, it ended up being $50,000 total over a 10-month period.
There had to have been something about him. I mean, you're an intelligent, accomplished professional. There had to be something about him to make you open up your pocketbook like that.
That I was the only one that could help him. His elderly mother was in Germany. She was 85. His wife had died. He had no kids. And I've always helped people. That's just in my nature.
Where'd you get the money to pay?
The first $13,000 came from my 401k. And then I had bought my sister a house back in South Dakota. She was, didn't know she was dying of cancer, but I had bought her a house so she could get out of a bad marriage. And so I used I sold that house and used some of it for that. And then it was just from my paycheck and from my tax returns.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And I lived very frugal.
How did you feel inside when you were giving him this money?
At first, I thought, okay, I'll just help him, with that. And then all of a sudden, the $10,000 wasn't enough. It was a $50,000 mark. So it seems like these scammers have a club. And because he actually Facebook friended me, and I have his name, too, from Nigeria.
So let me ask you, he's asking for the 50. Where are you sending it, and how are you sending it?
Oh, I sent it all over Shanghai, the Bank of Shanghai, China, Malaysia, even here in Washington, D.C., New Hampshire.
Now, when did you find out he was a scammer?
I had gotten an email from a friend who travels, and so it just didn't seem right to me. And so I had my ex-boyfriend say, you know what? Ask Ron if he needs this money or whatever. And so he said, okay, I'll call him. So he checked the IP address for him. And so I said, well, you know what? Check the IP address on this. And he did, and it was Nigeria.
Really?
Yeah. And one of the things that had kind of got me to trust this Arnold was that my niece was in her 40s. She's a bank manager. And she had gotten this letter from, I convinced her to get on Match, and she'd gotten this letter, and she goes, Aunt Heidi, this doesn't look right. And I go, yeah, let me ask Arnold. So I sent it to him. He said, no, you got to be careful. There are a lot of scammers.
So the scammer's telling you to be careful of scammers?
Right.
Okay. How does this relationship end?
I just sent a closure letter, and I sent out 65 emails to friends and family to alert them, because I had seen postings where people had contemplated suicide, and I thought, I cannot let anybody kill themselves over crap like this. I allowed myself to show my humility, my embarrassment, my shame, whereas a lot of people, they don't expose it, and it's allowed to continue. And like I said, I think it really goes a lot deeper than what we're made aware of, and that these sites. And so I recently went on Spiritual Singles. Mind you, I hadn't been on for 4 years on a
Okay, so,
Okay, go ahead.
So you take a 4-year hiatus
Yes.
of online dating.
Yes.
Okay. But you decide to go back online and start dating.
Yeah.
Okay. Begs the question, are you doing it, the couple here now, are you doing it differently? And do you have different standards, different procedures, different vetting processes than you did in the beginning?
Yes. I actually contacted the owner of this site first to see how safe it is. And she said, we do our very best to keep it protected, but it still happens. And so sure enough, I was scammed. I mean, I didn't allow myself to be scammed. I got these requests from these men, and they were scammers. I alerted them, that company, and they took them off.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to ask you to do before we take a break. I want you to tell everyone that's listening right now, because we know people are going to continue to date online.
Correct.
We know that, okay? And that's fine. But the message right now is this. Tell everyone right now, what should they do? What are some of the things they can do preemptively to minimize the risk of being scammed?
Well, don't put your salary down, that's for sure, or your
Okay.
profession.
Okay.
And just, if it doesn't feel right, you know, and look for the wording. They use am and different words, and they get really like needy. They put so much in. I mean, it's paragraph after paragraph. And be careful what you put that's like if a family member died of cancer or whatever, because they're going to play on those emotions that you have. So
That's excellent advice. Yeah. And I got to tell you something, with your humility, you're teaching a lot of people very important things today. And for that, everyone here at the Security Brief thanks you for that, Heidi. I mean that, okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Up next on the Security Brief, if you're dating online, what do you need to know to make sure you don't get scammed? Stay with me. We'll be right back. Financial infidelity between couples can be as damaging as sexual infidelity.
50% of the marriages end in divorce. So it's really important, especially for women, to keep their money safe. And there's really 3 things that we want to focus on.
Okay.
This last one I call Ask and You Shall Not Receive. This is Dominic Alfonseca, and he has revolutionized bank robbery.
He says that he only politely asked and handed the teller a very polite note.
How do you say no to a guy like that?
Right, exactly, because he said...
Welcome back to the Security Brief. We've been talking with 2 women, both nurses, who've been scammed out of tens of thousands of dollars by men they met through online dating sites. Joining us now with tips to online daters on how to avoid getting scammed is consumer advocate Adam Levin. He's a former director of the New Jersey Division of Consumer Affairs and the chairman of both Credit.com and IDT 911. He has a new book coming out this fall called Swiped. Adam, welcome to the Security Brief.
Thank you for the invite.
Pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's start off, Adam, with tell our viewers who is prone to scammers.
Really, anybody with a big heart, anybody who's been in a caregiver role, like you've been.
So both the ladies are nurses. Do they fit that?
They do. They do.
Okay.
Also, people who have suffered a loss, they've gone through a divorce, they've gone through an illness, there's been a death in the family. And unfortunately, a lot of people, when they do their profiles for these dating sites, they really want to be very honest about where they are, because their entire goal is to meet somebody who's simpatico. Unfortunately, people don't realize that you're dealing with people whose day job is to steal your money.
And let's go there for a second. Tell me, and I'm going to come to you ladies on this in a minute, tell me about the research that's conducted on potential victims.
Oh, there's an enormous amount of research done. Plus, you have to understand that we're living in a world now where breaches have become the third certainty in life. So as a result, there's an enormous amount of information out there, not only information that people willingly give online, but information that they didn't even know was being collected.
Such as?
That are in everything from social security numbers, addresses, based on quizzes that can be run in social networking sites. They can find out favorite colors, bands, hometowns, street you grew up on, school you went to, mascots, all those kinds of things. And what they're doing is they're creating a mosaic of your life. And each little piece of data is another tile in that mosaic.
So they're basically, scammers are looking for points of vulnerability of how to infiltrate that person's life through that part of them that they find nearest and dearest.
Oh, absolutely. And it's all about vulnerability and distraction. The busier a person is, the
Right.
more likely they're distracted.
Okay.
That's where they strike.
How can people protect themselves?
Well, there are a number of warning signs.
Let's hit those.
Okay, so the first is somebody moving way too fast? You know, I've heard about love at first sight. I mean, I met my wife. I had love at first sight.
There you go.
Took me 2 years to convince her.
See,
But
and I told my wife I was going to marry her the first time that I met her, 15 years old.
You see?
She said, I'm playing with dolls. What are you talking about? You can ask her. She's here. I said, no, I'm going to marry you. I'll deal with it.
excellent. So,
No.
but
Still
love-
married, though. Still married.
Our generation.
Just what's wrong with that?
That's right. It's
Right?
all-
She thought I was crazy at the time, but what? She's still here. So anyway, go ahead.
but love at first click can be very, very dangerous.
Okay, so number one, people that move too fast, too?
You know, people that suddenly you're the first thought they think of, the last thought they think of, that they're in love. Number two is the phantom dater, what we call, which is they never seem to be available. You can never seem to meet them.
Look at Heidi shaking her head.
You can never quite get them on the phone.
The thoughts that are going behind that smile, I would only can imagine. Go
You
ahead.
know, there's something wrong with their webcam, their computer's broke. They always have an excuse.
Number three.
They can never make it.
Okay.
Number three are you feel like you're in a B movie. The lines, my darling, I love you, I can't live without you.
Wow.
You listen to
You do
these-
that well, Adam. I got to tell you. You're good. You're good. You're good.
Probably what made me stay on.
Yeah. I like you, Louise. I got to tell you. All right. Give me number four.
Pepe Le Pew, right?
Give me four.
It's that
You're
also-
dating yourself now, Adam.
yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Johnny
number four.
Depp would be proud.
Johnny Depp would. Number four.
But also the other thing too is that
Yes.
if the lines sound too familiar, like you heard them in Casablanca, like you read them in a poem,
Yeah.
Google it. See
Yeah.
if something just doesn't feel
Interesting.
right.
Or a song.
Precisely.
Okay, go
The
ahead.
other one is there's always an emergency. I don't have enough money to get my license to do the road project.
Yeah.
Somebody in my family, I've seen this, somebody in my family was kidnapped. I need ransom money.
Okay.
There's someone at the door. Oh, it's the police at the door. I'm in a foreign country. Help me. I'm in trouble. I'm in jail. Well, the next one, the fifth one, is where they're asking you for information, and it seems like they're asking for too much information. Or they're asking you to give pictures that might be a little compromising, or to engage in online communication where you don't feel comfortable. And you don't realize you could be setting yourself for extortion or bribery, things like that.
I got to tell you, Adam, this is all excellent information. Tell me about searching for IP addresses of potential scammers.
Listen, I think it's very good to do all the research you can possibly do. The problem here is that sometimes IP addresses can be spoofed, just like when you get a phone call, it can be spoofed.
Right.
But if you can get your hands on the IP address, there are a number of websites, including yours, where you can go and actually do research and at least get an idea what the city is, what the country is, which will give you the trail of breadcrumbs that you need, especially if these guys are asking you for money, asking you for wiring instructions, telling you to wire money, giving credit card information.
Okay, invaluable information. I want to thank you. And to Adam's point, you can go to our website at www.securitybrieftv.com, and you can find out how you can search for someone's IP address. I want to thank you all very, very much for being here, for picking the Security Brief to tell the story, and to educate as many people as you did today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Up next, Security Briefcase. We'll tell you tips on how to have those tough money talks with your spouse. Stay with me. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's time for the Security Briefcase, keeping your money safe. Financial infidelity between couples can be as damaging as sexual infidelity. Here to help teach you how to secure your financial future is the Security Brief's personal finance expert and author, Wealthy by Design, Kimberly Faust. Kimberly, welcome back.
Good to see you.
How can divorce jeopardize financial security?
Well, you know, 50% of the marriages end in divorce, Paul, in the United States. And for baby boomers, that's exceeding up to 73%. So it's really important, especially for women, to keep their money safe. And there's really three things that we want to focus on.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So number one is yours, mine, and ours. Okay, so for yours, you want to ask the question. You want to get your credit report. So many people will jump into bed with each other, but if you ask, like, can I see your credit report, Paul? And they're like, what? No, that's a red flag.
Right.
A big red flag.
Bed's okay, credit report's not okay.
Yeah, what's
there
with
you go.
that?
Well, I don't know.
Right?
73% are getting divorced. They're doing something wrong, Kim. I'm thinking, okay.
And then mine. So you know what, mine. I want to keep my assets prior to the marriage safe, okay? So I can get a prenuptial. There's nothing wrong with getting my prenuptial. My mother always said an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Okay.
Prenuptials is your ounce of prevention, saving you pounds of money in the event that you end a divorce.
Do you need to have a lot of money to get a prenuptial?
Absolutely not. You just have to have separate property that you want to keep separate prior to the money. And also, you do not want to make sure that that money goes back into the marriage. It's okay to take the money out. So if you take from a single account to a joint account, that's okay. But you won't want to take a joint account and put it into a single account, back in your account, because that commingles. Think about this. If you go single to joint, okay to a point, joint to single, never mingle.
I hope you're not going to ask me to repeat that.
Okay.
Okay. No, but I'll write it down now. And ours.
And ours. If you end up going down the divorce road, unfortunately, just keep the facts, keep the emotionality out of it, just the facts, only the facts. And basically, we just want to make sure we have the facts when you go through divorce.
All right, Kimberly, you're always great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. To help you plan for financial security, everyone in today's audience is going home with Kimberly's book, Wealthy by Design. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Security Brief. It's time for my favorite segment, and that's Moron of the Week. Here with today's nominees, my good friend and comedian extraordinaire, Chuck Nice. Chuck.
Hey, Paul.
Hey, baby. Good to have you back.
Always a pleasure to be here.
I got to tell you, my closest friends that follow the show, the one thing I keep hearing all the time is, I love Chuck, I love Chuck, I love Chuck.
Well, I love them too.
There you go.
You know
baby.
what I mean?
Yes.
I love them too.
So what do we got today?
All right, well, we got bank robberies today. Wonderful bank robberies. And so the first one I call Hungry, Hungry Criminal. And actually, we should just roll the footage, and I'll tell you what's going on here.
Let's take a look at it.
This is fantastic. Now, that is John H. Port of Cleveland. He's being arrested for suspicion of bank robbery, and the cops did not find a note. They actually found the cash, but they didn't find a note, and the teller was handed a note. So you missed it, but run that again. No. Did you see what happened?
Did you see what? Is that what I saw?
What you saw, the reason why, now watch this, the reason why they didn't find the note is because, oh no!
He's eating the note! I kind of like him.
In a way, I like him too, because he's got his hands behind his back. He knows that that's the incriminating evidence. He eats it, and they're like, well, we know there's supposed to be a note.
Yeah, and you know what he says now? Go ahead, search me.
Yeah, he's like, search me. And then they saw the clip, and they realized where the note was, and they were like, well, we're not waiting for that to come out.
Yeah. What have we got for number two? I do like him.
Number two, I call this one, Hi, my name is Dumb Shady. Okay? Now, this is a bank robber by any other name is just as stupid. Just roll the clip. And
okay. It took less than a day for police and FBI agents to locate a bank robbery suspect. The reason why the case was so easy is because 68-year-old John David Martinez wore a shirt with his first name on it and drove a vehicle registered in his name to the bank.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I put this on the same level as the terrorist in Paris who leaves his driver's license in the rental car.
So he robbed a bank like he's a waiter at Applebee's. He wore a name tag. Hi, my name is John. I'll be your robber today.
I can't take it.
Yeah. If you want to find me, my license plate is right there.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the first rule of robbing a bank is you never use names. That's the first rule of robbing. This guy broke the rule.
Hi, I'm Bill.
Right, and he's by himself.
I'm robbing you. And I'm driving my own car. So take that plate down.
There you go.
Okay. He's going to be hard to beat. What do you got for three?
So this last one I call Ask and You Shall Not Receive. This is Dominic Alfonseca, and he has revolutionized bank robbery. Revolutionized it by doing something no one would have ever thought to do.
Got it.
Check it out.
He didn't steal from the bank and instead he says that he only politely asked. And as you can see in his note, he says that he walked in there and only handed the teller a very polite note that says he would appreciate it if she would give him $150,000.
Exactly.
How do you say no to a guy like that?
Right, exactly, because he said...
I want to give him money right now.
This
I mean,
is-
I don't have any, but if I did, I'd give it to him.
This is the guy who really took his mother too seriously when she said, say please and thank you, okay? And you'll get what you want.
Okay.
So basically, here's the note. I got to read this to you.
Okay, please.
Hi, I need 150,000 bands right now. Please, take 3 to 4 minutes. The police take 3 to 4 minutes to get here, so I appreciate it if you would ring the alarm 1 minute after I'm gone. Make sure the money doesn't blow up on my way out. Thank you very much.
All right, I got to tell you, as always, Chuck, you come in with 3 great moron stories, but I got to go with number 2. I got to go with number 2 because anybody that wears an ID badge to rob a bank wins Moron of the Week. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Next, what I really think about today's show. Stay with me. We'll be right back. I call them crimes of the heart, driven by the manipulation of one's desire to be loved. Nothing new, but now viral. Devastating both emotionally and financially, women and men alike are being taken because they fit a profile of one who has a desire to be a caregiver, single, and posting loneliness online. For the record, I am in no way blaming our victims whatsoever, but what I am saying is, of all the crimes we cover here at the Security Brief on a daily basis, this is perhaps the most preventable. That said, allow me to leave you with some suggestions. 1, don't continue a relationship online past a month without meeting the person in person. 2, never, and I mean never, loan money. 3, trust your gut and the instincts of those people who know you best. If you think something is not right, it's probably not. So on behalf of our executive producer, Terry Murphy, and the greatest TV team in America, be safe, be well, God bless. Thank you.